Most people think that the highest level of bitachon is letting go. But Shaar HaBitachon says that that's not even close. Because at the very highest levels of trust, nothing disappears from your ordinary life. Your effort, your work, your responsibility, your ambition, everything stays exactly the same on the outside. But yet on the inside, everything is completely different. At level 8 and level 9, the challenge is no longer whether you trust Hashem in a crisis or in calm mode. That question has already been answered. The challenge here on these two levels is whether your actions and your thoughts can live in two different worlds at the same time. It's almost bipolar. At level 8, a person works just as hard as ever. He goes to work, he earns a living, he plans his life, he builds his home. He shows up every single day consistently, but in his mind, something radical has changed. He no longer works every day because work produces him an income. He works because that is exactly what Hashem commanded him to do. He davens for his livelihood, even when income is stable, meaning if times are good, he's still davening for that. He asks Hashem for success even when success feels almost guaranteed for him. And not because he's an insecure person, but because he's very clear in his understanding in bitachon. Effort has become a mitzvah, not a cause. And outcome has been completely detached from the actual action. And that creates a strange tension. The body behaves almost like a human being while the mind lives entirely with Hashem. Now, most people can't hold that contradiction together. That's the hard part. Then comes level 9. And here, the work that you're doing moves from the mind into the heart. And this is no longer about your belief system. It's about your contentment in life. Not spoken contentment, not theological acceptance, but emotional. It's emotional surrender. And at this level, at level 9, a person doesn't just say, I accept Hashem's will. It's not just an outward expression. He really feels it inside. Rich, poor, healthy, struggling, it doesn't matter. There is no quiet resentment, no inner negotiation in your heart, no waiting for life to change before peace arrives. None of that. And yet at this crucial, this is not spiritual stagnation. On the worldly level, it's not a desire to change. It's not a desire to change anything at all, actually. On the spiritual level, there is absolutely no rest. He is content with what Hashem gave him and endlessly striving to become more spiritually. But on this world, worldly matters, he's content. That is the paradox of the highest levels of bitachon. And that is what we are learning today. I'm Ravav, and this is Shaar HaBitachon. All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today's shir should be Le'ilu Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gavriel Tzvi, and for Zaidi, Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dov Kohen, and B'schos L'Refuah Shalema B'karov Mishalom ben Sarachom, and Miriam Bas Sarah. Today we are on page 406 in the Aura Vigor, for those who are following along, and today we're going to talk about the 8th and 9th level of bitachon that we can aspire to be. Maybe we're on there already, but we started talking about the 10 levels, and everyone is on one level or another. And the first 5 levels were all personal ones, nothing to do with Hashem. Only in the 6th level we start realizing Hashem, and today we're on the 8th level. Quick pause here for just a moment. If this share is meaningful to you and has helped you build your trust and your avodas Hashem, I've created a Patreon for you to help and support the channel. I've listed that link in the description below. It's not an obligation. It's just there if you want to help. Now, back to that share. And the 8th level is, once this boy, this girl, they grow up a little bit more and they become more mature and they start understanding and their awareness of Hashem grows even stronger. He puts his trust in him to help in Hashem, to help him in every kind of activity, with all the means. Because in the 7th level, he still only put trust in Hashem in the places where maybe he didn't feel so able to put his trust in. So maybe he put it into places where, he's still in control, but Hashem, you can help me out a little bit so that, I don't have to bear all the abilities over here. Hakasha mehem v'hakala. And this time in the 8th level, he puts his trust in Hashem both in the easy stuff and the more difficult stuff. No matter what it is, even if he thinks he could do it, it doesn't make a difference. He still puts his trust in Hashem. And now he's thinking that he hopes Hashem will help him even in the most simple things, like even when you're sitting around at your office and you have a great business and business is going well. Rabbi Victor says, this person on the 8th level is still trusting in Hashem. Even though he's got a phenomenal company, he's got really, really good employees, he's got great market share, all that fun stuff, and business is just flowing, this person still trusts in Hashem, which he calls the easy stuff. Why? Because he understands already on this 8th level, he understands that everything is from Hashem, and that he is at work just because Hashem wants him to do that. He knows, Rabbi Victor Miller says, he knows his own efforts are minimal, and he could easily handle them without help. And yet he looks to Hashem for success. Perhaps someone who has an office job and he gets even paid wages, right? He's a salary employee and he's working for the government, right? He's not getting fired anytime soon, but he still has trust in Hashem. Maybe there's the government turnover, right? There's a different president comes inside, and all of a sudden they make the office that he works in for the last 40 years obsolete. So at the end of the day, he's got full bitachon in Hashem. And his thought when he is busy, what is his thoughts? What are his thoughts when he's busy working for a living? His thoughts are is that he's serving Hashem and fulfilling Hashem's mitzvahs of working. Hashem commanded us, you should go to work for 6 days a week, and the 7th day you should rest. But for those 6 days, I am working because that's what Hashem wants me to do, and it's an aveir. It's a mitzvah. Now, although he is active in his job, what he has in mind is I'm not getting paid because of my work. I'm not getting paid because of my abilities. I'm working to serve Hashem, and I'm getting paid by Hashem no matter what I do. That's the thought process over here. And that's the point that Chovos HaLevavos brought up before, and it's worth emphasizing over here as well. Rabbi Victor Miller says, emphasizing again that the person who has bitachon is not a person who is lazy, who sits around, does nothing, and just says, hey, I have trust in Hashem. No. He doesn't sit around. He does things. He works hard. He does his job with full oomph to it, right? He does his job really, really well. But when he goes out in the morning, like everybody else, and he works all day, just like everybody else, the difference is his mindset. What is his mindset? Now, there's a question over here in this 8th level. He says, now, why should we work if he has bitachon on Hashem? He's at 8th level bitachon. Why should he work? The answer is that Hashem commanded him to work. So by doing his regular job, he's doing exactly what Hashem wanted him to do. And don't forget, if you don't do what you're supposed to, it's just like what we spoke about putting yourself in danger. Like, you're not allowed to jump in front of a bus because even though you could say that, hey, if Hashem wants me to go, I'll go. If not, you're not allowed to do that. It's a sin to do that. It's an avera. Here also the same thing. You need to go to work. You can't sit around lazy and do nothing all day and just decide, say, hey, Hashem is going to provide for me. Now, the 9th level that we're talking about over here is full acceptance of Hashem. He says it like this, and we're going to get into a little bit of Victor Miller as well. Now, this person becomes even stronger, more aware in Hashem, and he has a stronger trust in Hashem. When he appreciates Hashem's compassion on his creatures, that he realizes Hashem has compassion for every single living organism on this planet. He accepts Hashem's decree for him, whatever it might be. He accepts it in his heart and in his feelings. Outwardly and inwardly. Not only does he accept Hashem's decree visibly, because it's very easy, and Rabbi Victor was trying to emphasize over here, it's very easy for a person to say, yes, I have a bitachon, even as a knee-jerk reaction when something bad happens. You can say, yes, I have bitachon. Why? Because you've been listening to a shir, you've been part of a shir for such a long time that your knee-jerk reaction is now, it's all from Hashem. But inwardly, how you feel, that doesn't necessarily mean it correlates with how you act outwardly. So you might show your friend, your wife, your children that, yeah, everything's from Hashem, but how do you really feel? When you walk away from them, you're going out there and by yourself and you feel bitter, you feel hard about it. So he says over here, he is happy with whatever Hashem brings upon him, whether his decree is death or life, whether it's poor or rich, or brius v'choili, well-being or illness. He doesn't desire any other status of his situation than which Hashem has chosen to give him. He only wants that which Hashem wants him to have. He is happy with Sameach B'cholko because this is what he's realized Hashem wants him to have. And he submits himself entirely to Hashem in this regard. And he surrenders his life and his body to Hashem's judgment as to how he should be treated. And he accepts whatever Hashem does as the proper judgment. In worldly matters, he doesn't favor any situation over another, and he doesn't choose any other situation where he is right now. The attitude over here that he has is that he's acceptance of whatever life brings at him. What he's doing is his ishtadlus. He goes to work. He does what he needs to be safe. He does what he needs for Torah. He does what he needs for his family. He does what he is in every aspect of life. Whatever aspect and whatever Hashem decrees for him, where he is today is exactly where Hashem wants him to be. And that's how he feels. He feels satisfied. He's happy. He's content. Why? Because this is what Hashem wants. And he understands the core concept that we spoke about from the beginning is that Hashem has compassion for every living organism. Hashem has love for every single person on this world. And so therefore it winds up being a place where this person is content. Now, there is one piece where the Vigdamil adds over here, a very interesting piece before we finish. When it comes to worldly matters, one of the things that goes into that category is our physical well-being. So one could say that when you're ill, right, maybe you should daven or maybe shouldn't daven for your well-being. There's a whole, if you talk about this concept that everything's from Hashem, what really is the bottom line to this? If everything's from Hashem, then it is what it is. Even including V'nishmat Mod Nafshesech. Let me explain what he says. What about if he's ill? Shouldn't he ask Hashem to heal him? The answer is that a man and his body are two separate considerations. He should think of his body in the same way as he thinks of his fellow man's body. If a fellow Jew is ill, right, then you should daven for that fellow Jew. Certainly, he doesn't know what Hashem intends to do, but whatever it is, it's his duty to daven to Hashem. The same thing when it comes to your body. Your body is on loan from Hashem. Your neshama is yours, but your body is on loan. You, v'nishmat mod nafshesechem, one of the concepts that we spoke about earlier in Chavos Havavos, so Shaar HaBitachon about this, is that you need to take care of your body as if it's not your own, because it isn't yours. It's on loan to you. And you're taking care of it for Hashem. It's Hashem's body. And you have to take care of it as if you borrowed something from your friend. You don't want to ruin it. You want to treat it responsibly. You don't want to break it. And so when we talk about over here, the person is content with where he is in life, it doesn't mean physically, emotionally to be content. You always need to strive for better. And that's where V'nishmatim od nafshesechem comes into play over here. Because if, let's say, it's really cold outside, you can't say, like we just said, you're content with wherever you are in the world. If you find yourself lost in the middle of a forest and it's cold, you can't just say, oh, I'm content with it, because that's the 9th level of bitachon. I'm content with. No, you are responsible to take care that you shouldn't get ill, you shouldn't freeze to death. You should try to find a warm place to hide, maybe build a fire, whatever that is. That's your responsibility. You can't be content when it comes to that. So you can't get away, so to say, and say, oh, I can be lazy about this, because this is Hashem wants. At the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to be responsible for your body as if it's not your own. And that's one of the most important things. Contentment is only good for your own well-being, as far as being content with how much money, being content with, whatever assets you have in your life, the relationships you have, all those different things. But at the end of the day, you still need to do your part. Over here he mentions physically, but really emotionally, relationship-wise, whatever it is, you need to do your part, because you cannot say that Hashem is going to do whatever He is and be content with that. No, you can't be content. And this is one of the bases that people have about working hard and doing things. And it's not that you're not allowed to work hard. You just can't work hard for the wrong reasons. If you want to work hard and say, I'm doing avodas Hashem, and you want to do it that way, it's just as if you went to chesed, with you up for 30 hours straight doing chesed for someone, whatever that is, right? That's fine. As long as you're doing it for avodas Hashem. Remember, it's not just physical, it's not just emotional, it's every single aspect of your life. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today. And as always, I love you all.